Hello, friends, fellow gamers. Welcome to our chat, our first patron chat here for this month. And, well, not the first time we chat as patrons. We do that all the time in our group. However, the first time we're going to get a hangout here going with all the people, as many people as is available this time of day. We'll have them pop in here as we go along. And I'm just working on my homebrew rules and refining that document and making it look better and nicer and all that good stuff. I'm real excited that it's coming together so well after so long. So that's been an enjoyable thing. And then I think after this chat, I'll be working on our epic encounter. And yeah, Steven,
Hi.
how you doing today?
Well, fine, and it's really cool to finally be back with you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have people trickling in here as they see the notice popping up and those kind of things. But yeah, I enjoy these chats a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And welcome, Victor, joining us here.
Hello.
Good. Well, we don't need to dive into anything specific just yet. Let's give a few more minutes, I'd say, before specific topic. But how about just general? How's gaming life going?
Well, just today I had finally my continuation of the one-on-one campaign with my girlfriend, the Pathfinder one, which I created those windowing mosaics for.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was quite fun because it's now developing into some kind of organization thing where she's trying to um, uh, well, train her employees to be better at guarding the headquarter and so on. And but yeah, it's some other type of adventuring, so to speak.
A nice change of pace, and I find that works really well in the one-on-one to really focus in on, because you can have their desires being played out in a lot greater focus on it because they're the only one. Welcome, guys. Welcome joining us. Sean, Jonathan, Jacob, Jingleheimer Schmidt. That sounds like a fun name to go together. How are we doing today?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, today's we are it's a little daunting, I guess, but we're looking at buying a house. Well, we're not buying a house. We're getting massive help from the in-laws in buying a house, but we've been looking around and we saw a showing this morning, and it's never been something that I even thought was possible at all. So at an enormous basement and furbished all that stuff. So the office right now, I'm in my basement, but I've got the kind of office room. This has, like, I've already started picturing gaming table and get that home group together again. People living locally here, and then the feeling of being able to stay in a single place for more than a year. I think in the last 10 years, I've only stayed at a place, the longest was 2 years at a time. So we've moved 5, 6, 7 times. It'll be really wonderful to just be settled. And then I can make, when you know that you're here, we're going to be here for 5, 10 years. I feel like I get a home group together and feel like, you know what, I can really make this work. So that's really exciting.
Congratulations.
Nothing's finalized yet, nothing certain, but it is something I'm definitely. It's basically we're going to be paying rents, here, and then we kind of crunch the numbers. What does it cost to get a mortgage? Almost the same financially. Better to own it and put some roots down. So yeah, that's going on. Anything on people's minds? Feel free. We got open forum, whatever gaming topics and things going on in your life and your gaming life and your groups. I've got some things I could share, but this is definitely a forum for you guys more than just me. So anything that's on your radar right now, fire away.
Well, I just had a session 0 like an hour ago. And basically, I'm starting to try to learn the intricacies of Roll20. The GM is I forget his name, but I forget his name, but he's the one making the Roll20 videos for your channel.
You mean this guy down the line there?
Oh yeah, you're there. I thought you said you were busy. Oh well.
I was, and then I saw this come up right when I was about to go to bed, so I thought
Okay.
I'd pop in for 10 minutes before I laid down.
Okay, didn't realize you were there.
Figured I'd just sneak up on you.
And how did it go? Was it awful? Was it terrible? The worst thing you've ever experienced?
I'd say it was
bad.
good. The main problem main problem. I mean, I'm still learning to figure out all the details about Roll20, like when you're trying to use all the functions and all that. But I think I'm well on my way.
I'd still consider myself pretty inept with a lot of the macros and the. That's why we have Jake coming on and helping with that stuff, and a few others who are more proficient. It's not that it's required when you play using Roll20 to have those things, but it sure does speed stuff up. It kind of makes it feel a little more elegant or a little more depth, I suppose, when you kind of have your descriptive action of Xander takes a shot, or licks his lips and takes a shot, and then you see the stuff go up. It helps reinforce cinematic feel without it also taking a bit long, I would say. And I'm definitely guilty of combats running long because of descriptiveness.
Yeah, my favorite part about the Roll20 implementation is that it really stops the conversation of, do I get a +4 here? Does this add proficiency, or is it just the modifier? What about this situation?
It's definitely been. We ran a Pathfinder game on Saturday night, and it was fun. The battle was cinematic and cool. They're flying up to a castle in the sky and having to fight off dragons on their way up there, and little arcane sentries. And not able to, as much as I would have wanted, to be descriptive about their attacks. And I slice through this, or I whistle, those little flavorful extras. But they're stacked up to be it took way longer, and I pace it out well enough, I think, such that it would flow more smoothly. It just ended up most of the session ended up being that one fight. So having better Roll20 skills, I think, would definitely, at least from my end, improve the pacing and flow of the game. It adds up, those little seconds. Add up a lot, actually. I don't think I would sit by and count up how long is wasted time, but there's definitely a good deal, like minutes.
Yeah.
Many minutes.
Speaking of saving time, have you looked at any at the checklist thingy I made?
I did, and I got some feedback soon. It's kind of being rolled into the home forge document stuff.
Oh, okay.
And seeing a place for that, because I think I'm adding my session 0 content into the big document. The checklist, the campaign themes, how to run one, with links to the video. But that will also. I'm packing more things in. It's going to delay it again, so I don't know if it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean the one I made, it wasn't exactly made to be the most detailed or elegant creation. I just wanted to make sure I had everything like what is my damage option, what is my healing options, what is my buff options, and what are my utilities, and how do I calculate my spell attacks and DCs and all that. I just needed to have that summarized and quick on hand with all my spells and everything, just right there, essentially doing the things that I might be able to do with Roll20 now.
Yeah, having those cheat sheets, it really, because you get together and online, it's not quite as much of a commitment. But if you're going over to someone's house or something, to really trying to think of how can I use this time the best, and then that's going to involve a lot of things of being a little more streamlined. Where do I want to emphasize and focus our time here? And I find a lot usually the storytelling, the role playing, those memorable in character moments are the things that get kind of left to the side or squished when the numbers parts of things take longer. And definitely working on ways to streamline that. Greetings, everybody.
Yeah.
I've welcomed you here. Welcome.
I feel that the main problem the main problem is the time, but there are two main problems, you could say. It's hard to say which one is bigger, but one of them is the whole time issue and spending your time effectively, but the other is you never get your character properly. You can never get into it. You never immerse yourself properly if you're constantly looking back and forth and flipping pages in the guide for 5 minutes before your turn. So, I mean, as much as you want to prepare before the next turn, you also want to stay in touch with what's going on. So,
not to mention all those times when you just forget about something.
Yeah.
All those pages you're flipping through, you're bound to overlook something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a prime victim of what was it you called it? Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, thoughts on that or on how you use your time in games and solutions to this? Welcome.
Analysis paralysis is definitely a board gaming term that I have borrowed heavily for players who take roughly 4-minute or longer turns.
It's you have to discern the source of that, diagnose it in order to fix it. Because sometimes it can be I don't understand the rules, I don't understand what I am able to do. A little less often, I think it's the descriptive nature. I have to come up with a good description. That's to me not the hugest part, but it could also be a lack of attention. They're busy doing not the game, and then it comes around to their turn, and then that's when they hit the starts like a chess match. I'm going to start thinking about my move now instead of I've already been thinking about it for a while. All of them can contribute.
I've definitely seen it to where as well players who it's been 7 days since the last time they've run the character, so they're just had completely brain dumped any abilities that they had whatsoever. So even 3 rounds into combat, they're still yeah, that's right, I have this ability and add it. It's just come 10 minutes early and look at your character sheet, man. That's all you need.
Yeah, see, I in my mind trying not to be that guy. That is 5 turns later. Oh, I could have done that. Is what causes my analysis paralysis because I feel that I need to know all the options so I know I've picked the one I should pick. That slows me down in the other end of the whole thing, where rather than missing things, I feel I can't progress unless I make sure I haven't missed anything, and as such, I've wasted twice as much time.
Yes.
Now when I have everything, it's better. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
You're a bit robotic, Sean. I know you like tweaking your settings, so just a heads up on that.
Hear me?
We hear you. Yeah, it's just but I've noticed I personally have a big problem or bigger problem when I progress too quickly or I start off a higher level and haven't understood or learned the abilities. Yeah, that's better. Especially in MMOs, I'm playing the Old Republic now as research for my campaigns. I keep saying, but I'm having fun
Of course.
but I leveled like way too quickly, somehow like running a flashpoint, a dungeon kind of thing, and I gained 6 or 7 new abilities in the course of an hour, and I just had no real like understanding of how I can use these effectively, how they interact with the other ones, what to do to put everything together. It just became, wow, I don't know what to pick or what to do or how things work because it came so quickly. Or if you start a high level game that you want to go for a while and you're not very confident in the system or at least how everything interacts, that can really slow a lot of things down because it's like, well, I have all these different abilities, but I haven't played with just having 2 of them, and then I have one more, and then I have one more.
Yeah, I had a similar feeling when I started playing Witcher 3. Just kind of jumped in, I had everything. Like, oh, I don't know what to use.
Sort of the feeling I've had in every single fighting game I've ever touched, because it's like I have all these combos and maybe I can pull them off, but when you're in the thick of things, which I have moves, you just can't process things when you're trying to be in the moment.
I found, and I was very surprised, that when I played a game called Guacamelee with my wife, who is not a gamer, she actually got the hang of it pretty well, and I think it's because they gated. You start off with just some basic abilities, and then now you learn those 4, jump and punch and dodge or something, and then they add one new one, and then you play with that for an hour. Then they add another new one, you play with that one for an hour, and it built up steadily to the point where she wasn't fantastic with it, but competent enough to a degree which was pretty impressive. That some of the content was pretty hard, and she was able to keep up. And I think it's because that slower learning curve, especially when things require real instantaneous, for it to become a reflex, takes some time, and to expect that happening right away is, I think, too much.
Yeah, my friend and I were playing Guacamelee, and we definitely rage quit after about an hour and a half of failing the same puzzle, jumping up thorns and going through portals at the same time. We were like, we can't do it another minute.
Yeah, but it's really interesting when you compare it to game design as well. That sorry, that I mean, like in a game that's less approachable, less approachable, there's usually either a tutorial or just a picture of here's the buttons and here's what they do. Now you're supposed to memorize this entire picture and just know it. So those approaches just don't work. But when a game can really get the whole learning curve right, it isn't a tutorial. You're just getting new tools, and you don't feel like you've been hampered by a lack, but you feel like you just got something whenever something new comes. It's that whole like approach of step-by-step learning and gaining more options as opposed to the whole front loading of everything. It's such a different. I mean, some have said that the Portal games are essentially all tutorial, and they just mask it very, very well because they add a new mechanic or a new idea in essentially every major room. And so, as such, it's technically tutorial all the way through, but you don't feel like you're being told something or being tutorialized. You just feel that you're figuring out something new. Of course, that's also part of the fact that it's a puzzle game, but I mean, the gesture itself is interesting enough, as I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely a masterpiece in that regard.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all ever played Styx Master Shadows, but they had a really good tutorial in there. They did a really good job of spanning it out, just like including one thing after the other, so you would never be. I never felt overwhelmed by anything.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried that. I probably should actually, because I mean, like many like games with fighting systems or whatever, I often feel that even when they try to successively add one technique after another, I just end up spamming the single one that I feel works, which is not the not the intended use, but it's the one that I can grasp because I keep missing the others.
Yeah, if you're a fan of stealth games, I highly recommend Sticks. It's fun.
Had a really neat story and atmosphere to it as well that I liked. I will say though, this leads me to a question we can all chime in on if you like. For new players or relatively inexperienced players, with this in mind, say in Guacamelee and these video games that we're referencing, you in most cases don't design your character. I don't get a pick that the I forget the luchador has this set of moves. He does, and I learned those moves. I don't have to make the choice of which race of luchador am I going to play, which class of it's just taken away. For new players, in your experiences so far, or as a player or as a game master, have you found that making characters together is a big hindrance to start off? Is it better to just give a pre-made character and then later on learn those things? So now you just have to learn the rules, not the character creation side of it too. Or is it worth it to learn all of it at once? What's been your experiences?
I would, if I were the GM, I would let them make the choice first. Because I know whenever I first started playing Pathfinder, my very first character, I wanted to choose. I always liked the character creation process, so I didn't want to do a pre-gen character. But if they are okay with not making the choices, then yeah, I would probably advise doing a pre-gen character at first, so they kind of get a feel of the system. And then once they've got that, then maybe we can either redo the campaign with their own character, or just start a new one, or continue playing if he likes the character.
Yeah, I mean the first approach to any D&D that I actually got was to try out a character from one of my friends' campaigns and to do a small combat encounter, not even a one shot, just one encounter with a setup of you've gone to this town because messengers hasn't returned from it, and now you figure out what's going on, and the place is full of undeads. Now fight back, and that approach really gave me since it was barely even a one shot, there was this focus on this is how it works, this is what the mechanics do and such. That was sort of like a tutorial for me, except it was only for one class. But because personally, I feel towards the whole idea of using a pre-made character, I'm too used to in various games and such, when I know there's an option to create a character, to be very specific about what kind of a character I create, and as such, it both would have felt strange for me to go for a full one shot or something, because I would have felt like I wasn't making my own choices, but at the same time it wouldn't have worked if I were to pick everything myself from the start. So I feel like that was a good starting point. Just try an encounter with a pre-made character and learn the basics, and then maybe once you have that you can start looking at more, I'd say. But I'm relatively inexperienced, so that's just my 2 cents.
I think the most ideal way of dealing with it is sitting down with your player and really hammering out the details with them in particular, because not only does that get them one step at a time to learning the not only character creation process but the terms that you're using, it develops a relationship with you and the player, so that they kind of earn a trust for you, and that you're going to be there to help them out. It opens up that communication route, where if you just hand them a character sheet, you're missing that chance to just have a conversation.
Well, it kind of depends on how much experience you have in gaming overall. I think. I mean, if you have played a lot of PC or video game role-playing games like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, then that effect that thing would probably work. Where if you have no experience, I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but maybe it's not the best. But like you said, talk to the player. That's I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, what I would usually do is I like what Victor was saying, is I'd come in with a pre-made character that I would think would fit that person's type of quota. I play more games with my friends. I haven't got to do online, so I've had that advantage of knowing their personal hobbies. And then I use that character as an example to make their next character. So say I came in with a certain type of spellcaster because I know they kind of like magic. Whether it be a sorcerer or something, they're going to come in and look at it and see how spells work, and then eventually move on to what their own creation is. And that's what I've done whenever I GM.
Trying to find it. I'm having trouble finding it, but Andrew actually made a video, I remember a while ago, like I think a year or two ago, and it was about running the first session, or like session 0, it was like a tutorial for like new players, where you actually like played through some sort of like tutorial session. Can't remember what that video was.
Is it the one where he's going through Pathfinder in like a mini session with his wife? I remember that one, and it was actually very informative. But I can't remember its name exactly. It might have been called Pathfinder Basics or something.
I don't know, I just remember that he was like, you were like, you're actually like telling them to, he gave like a crossbow or something, and it's hard for me to explain. I wish I remember what it was. At least the title of it.
Well, there's Pathfinder Basics, and I did that with Rachel, and then there's the Beginner's Table, which I've done a variety of different groups. Not exactly tutorial mode entirely, like the trial of the Guardians and the Cave of Trials. The trial method is very tutorially designed to start off. It really helps introduce like one character really well, but the Guardians does too, of having the players kind of eased into all the different mechanics in a very non-threatening environments. So shoot the dummy, shoot the pumpkin off of the scarecrow. I mean, or try and walk past me without me hearing you. Very, very. All right, so that means we're gonna make a skill check, and so it's prompted. You don't feel like we're gonna die if I don't make this right now. You take all the pressure off. Usually, I like to have whoever's hired them. Like they've been hired or asked to do a task doing these tests just to make sure they're ready. I'm not going to send any new fresh meat out to die in the field who aren't capable of swinging the sword. Kind of an approach, and that works really well. But you also have to have the whole group behind it. If you have more experienced players, they need to be also, yay, we're getting a new player. We're going to help them learn. We're going to pause our big thing, and we're going to help bring them in on board if that's the case. Very tricky when you don't have the patient support to pull that off.
The other thing you could do is like have a pre-session, I guess, with just that new player, just you and him, and y'all can do that before you start the actual group session.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's just one new player joining a group, and not new as in haven't played tabletop games before, definitely at least a pre-session is very, very important, because if the campaign's higher than first level, it's going to be a real hard time for most people. There's exceptions if they're really good at other games and they get it. Yeah, that happens, but more often than not, making them comfortable is got to be the priority of the whole group. If there's differing of goals and well, I don't care if there's someone new. I'm here to assassinate the king and screw the rest of you guys. Yeah, it's not going to go very well.
Yeah, with the pre-gens, I've actually used something similar to Victor in my session zeros, where I bring a bunch of pre-gens and we all sit down as a group and we'll do character concepts. I explain what a character sheet means, what the stats mean. And if there's a new player, then I have the do an encounter with the pre-gens, and then we go into actually making in characters together. And that's worked really well as part of the session 0 for me. But when I'm a player, especially with me expanding into systems I've never played or even thought of playing, I definitely want the option of a pre-gen. And until I learn basically what the character's creation process is, how to make one that's effective and fun to play. So for me, pre-gens in that situation is the way to go for myself.
At least have an example that someone could look at to follow. Generally speaking, is really helpful to have the visual of. In teaching or education, we call it I do, we do, you do. And so when teaching a new concept or something that the students haven't encountered before, the teacher does it by themselves, explaining it, showing it. This is addition, 4 plus 4. So I'm taking 4 things, I'm adding 4 things, I get 8. I did it. So now we're going to do it together. I'm going to help lead you into this, and then we're going to all work at the same time. And then now that we've done it twice and you've done it once, now you do it. And I think that getting too hasty can really wreck some enjoyment of the experience. For new people, we don't want that, because it's already a bit nerve-wracking for some to, I have to go and I have to act. I have to be like those Critical Role guys. I mean, I can't do any voices. I've never acted before. I'm so nervous. And now I also have to learn all the numbers and all the system and all this stuff. Let's do a little better job, I think, of bringing people in and making them feel comfortable, because we really like it.
I found the video, by the way. Luckily, I had sent it to my GM like way back when, so I just looked at my sent history, my emails. If anybody wants to see it, it's right there.
Cool. Like another just after this conversation, I've got written down, and usually I glean a lot of video ideas or things to add to guides or to cover from these conversations, so I appreciate that. One of the things is going through that, because I've got guides, but not a tutorial. I think a clear, like, I'm a DM. I'll do this. I'm a DM, and you're a new player, but you're on the other side of the screen, and so I do appreciate the inspiration to go through that tutorial process again. It'll be fun. Cool. Well, other topics or things on people's minds. I've been dealing with homebrew stuff, different systems, coming up with stories, really working on pacing and focusing in to what the essential elements are. But by all means, yes, static.
So I've just recently moved away from my friends where we would classically sit down at a table and play D&D, and thankfully we found Roll20 and we've started playing on that. But I find a lot of the energy is lost because I can't. I find making direct eye contact with somebody is so easy way of communication. So what is some of the ways you guys have been able to have energy keep on flowing through a session?
I basically play exclusively on Roll20 nowadays, and I've found that the easiest way is to really, and you're still playing with the same people, right?
Yes, yeah, same people.
man, it's interesting because I don't know if I've ever felt a difference in enthusiasm. Does, for your personal experience, because you can't speak for your friends, does it feel a little bit more awkward for you being on microphone?
Not awkward. I guess it would probably say a loss of attention, and that might be on their part because it's like you have the entire internet right beside you. So some people are scrolling through Facebook and whatnot.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's something that you'll just have to communicate with them with that I've seen in some of my groups, and I sit on the same couch as my wife when we're on Roll20, and I can look over there and she's playing Candy Crush during some sessions. I'm like, shut it down. You need to just kind of make a verbal contract with you and your friends. Just be like, hey, let's act like we're at the table. Let's give us ourselves and each other respect. Put everything down. Let's stay focused. Let's stay involved, or else this isn't worth our time because we're not getting maximum effort out of this.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I would agree with him.
I know for me, having gone through the Roll20 experience for a while, what really took away from the energy level was not seeing the other players. I could see the tokens, I could see the map, but I couldn't see the players and how they were reacting. So after a while, I switched over to Skype and now Google Hangouts, and that's really brought back a lot of that feeling that you're at the same table.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to see the and kind of watch the reactions.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. That's something I think our sessions have definitely been lacking is video confirmation. So that's what I'll try and push. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
Roll20 has video capabilities as well if you want to try it out, but sometimes it's a little iffy for some people. I've never really had problems with it though.
Cool.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, it is absolutely a different experience, and I won't say better or worse than a home game. I've certainly had terrible experiences at home games and gaming conventions and local shops and that stuff. Definitely the worst experiences I've had in gaming have been there. But it's entirely shifting of not only the actual running and administration of the session, but the grander commitment and the anticipation and the act of driving over to someone's house, the act of it's gaming nights. I've got to, hopefully, put on deodorant. I've got to get my bag together with my sheet and my dice. I've got to put the gaming helmet on in a much more significant way than, well, it's 2:55. I got a game at 3. All right, I'll hop on Roll20 and I'll hop on Skype and I'll look for my character somewhere maybe, because you don't feel that pressure because it's asking much less of you if you're not a game master in most cases to be available and participate. The level of connection, the level of perhaps even immersion and connection to the game, the value you place on it, you're not giving up as much in order to do this. So the opportunity cost is a lot less, and that can feel like, well, I'm not as connected or I'm not as immersed in what's going on because it's less investment on my end to even pull it off. So there's no clear solution from my end, but I think at least part of it would be having things that ping on people's radars outside of the main session. This is very hard for me to do, but it is my intention. In between the week, check in and give them like a letter in the local newspaper or the latest news alerts, or one of your contacts sends you a missive and lets you know about this, or your enchanting is done. Something to keep the attention and anticipation going, keep it more present in people's minds, I think will increase their involvement and their satisfaction. And it is hard. I'm guilty of it, no doubt. Of once you're in the session, when it's not your turn, or when you're waiting for things to have something else open, I've got 2 monitors. I can pull it off far too easily for my own good. to have those distractions right there. And so it really does take some level of discipline and commitment. But if you pull it off, I find the games are much more rewarding when you can give it your full attention, when you choose to make a bigger deal out of it. And then, like Yaron was saying, cameras. I know it makes some people nervous. If you're in a group of friends, it shouldn't make you nervous. But if you don't know the people, I know that can be an aspect of it, but it adds so much more. To see someone's facial expressions, to see their gesturing, to even just know that it's not. That's another level of commitment. I'm put on clothes. I've seen some like one-shot group like postings or just things that were posted there, different chats or sessions. But there's players who are not wearing clothes, and it was really at least not a shirt or something, and that was disappointing. But besides that, that I can't just look like a slob, or I shouldn't. I'm doing something to elevate this above just any other time in front of the computer. If you can do that, I encourage that. That's really, to me, the second best thing to having all that, and then also being in person, having the food you're sharing, having the house that you cleaned up every Sunday afternoon. I remember, I'm going to clean the house because my friends are coming over. I'm going to make some food. We're gaming tonight. It's a thing. We're socializing. They're bringing the kids. It's a greater commitment and then greater reward, I would say, overall.
Yeah,
On
that
the other
actually.
hand, well, go on.
Yeah, that brings me to like a few other points. What Andrew said. One thing that I've actually found that helps me is to have some sort of home setup, like not just sitting down on your kitchen table with a laptop and playing. Like actually have a desk somewhere in your house that you go to that has all your books, your character sheets, just kind of like your own little office, like mini space where you can sit down and have your session. Kind of puts you into the, I guess, the vibe of gaming and will help keep you a little more focused. At least it has for me. It's like I've got a drawer right here that has all of my books. I've got 2 monitors like Andrew has. I have my webcam here. Like I've almost completely completed my setup here, and it makes it a lot easier for me to just kind of like come here and do what I need to do. Some of the other points that he mentioned, what was it? Sorry, I had them all in my head while he was talking. I forgot them all.
Yeah, I talked a long time.
You go ahead and say what you were going to say. Well, I think.
Personally, though, I feel like I feel a bit in regards to online or face to face. I feel like a bit of in a bit of an opposite situation, sort of, because I personally let's just say it. I don't have a very lively social life with people that live. For one, people that live anywhere near me. So if I were to try and game at someone's house, I'd literally have to take a flight. So the only situation where I'd get to game with someone face to face, it would be with someone I don't know as well. And in that situation, various personal issues of mine would lead to me being very uncomfortable and tense and such. And I feel like the game would not go well for me if I were to try and get used to a new group, at least not for the first several sessions. So I mean, like if you have any form of like things like anxiety or like problems with, I myself have Asperger's syndrome, and I need a lot of processing time I can need time to process new environments, new people, new experiences. And I just don't have to deal. There's so much I don't have to deal with when I can just do it from the comfort of my own home. And I then feel that I can actually focus on the game as opposed to trying to deal with all these other things that are going on. yes, it at the times when I have been abroad and been with friends, the gaming has been awesome. But that I don't have that luxury on an everyday basis, and my regular work takes too much out of me to be able to just have the mental energy to go out to just take the train over to someone who lives on the other end of town and stay there for 4 hours and then take the train home and get up for work the next day. I just don't have that capacity, and so online is the optimal option for me.
Yeah, that goes along with what I said about having a home setup. And I actually just remembered the other things. So as like Andrew said, with the like keeping up with them in between sessions, especially if you're a player, what I like to do is like I will, because whenever I game online with Andrew and stuff, we have like our little Facebook group chats. And so like on the group chats, I will just like ask Andrew a question or something, just do something to kind of bring up the topic of our session. Just anything, whether it's asking the DM a question, talking about what you want to get on your next level, like just anything relating to the game, just kind of like jog their memory again and kind of get them thinking about their character maybe. That's what I like to do with online games. Another thing you could try if you were GMing, if you're not GMing, maybe talk to your GM, is if you're using Roll20, try to use maps and icons for just about everything. Do like use Roll20 even outside of combat if you're just like using a map for like a city or something, because it will give them something to look at and will keep them from going to like Facebook or something like that. And all you gotta do is just kind of use it for like NPCs and stuff, actually like show people moving around, giving them a better visual of like what the town looks like. And it's going to be a little more effort on the GM's part, but it might help the immersion and attraction of the players.
True part. And then again, it's all up to the players, and it all depends on the players. I had once a player who was so eager to participate in an online game on Roll20 that she went into the shop of her parents and asked if she could use the computer there. And in her bag, there were all the customers talking to her parents and then buying stuff and so on. And she was playing with her headphones on. And at first, she was a little bit intimidated by the customers' presence, but then she got so much into the game that her parents went on and asked her what she's doing over there. So it all depends on the players and how much you prepare the game and how do you get their attention to really want to be in the game. My 3 cents.
Absolutely. It definitely comes down to not one clear right way specifically for all people at all times. As we've heard, some people playing online works better for them. Some people miss out when they're not playing in person, so it'll vary. Some people really want something else to consider with Static, your specific group. What gets them the most excited and engaged and energized when you were back in your home game? Was it, and think of the story, the running of the game itself. Was it really exciting combats? If so, doing that a little more often until people get more comfortable with the online side of it. Was it joking around? Was it role-playing with NPCs? Was it inter-party discussions? I would recreate or try and get that flavor and feel back more and more, doing what is familiar, doing what was like the height of the experience previously, and that can help them transition into, all right, now we're playing online. It is different, but I still remember this. I still have good fun time with this aspect. Heighten that, bring that back.
All right, sweet. I have to jump ship, guys. I'm sorry, but thanks for all your suggestions. Have a good rest of your day.
Happy
Bye.
gaming.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for online gaming and it being, it's my job. So it's pretty amazing that it is viable. I still, having started off gaming in person, that to me still feels like the greater, just in my experience, has just been the greater reward has come, or sense of enjoyment has come from those. But equally so, it's kind of like dating, right? It is a big risk to go out on a date with someone in person. It's much less of a risk to have a Skype chat with them. Going out in person, you spend more of your money. You run the risk of, I've spent this money and this time and the gas, and the person is just totally not right for me and just a miserable time. But then, if it does work out, then that's even more. Wow, that was just incredible. There's no way, that in-person experience. So I would say probably the variance, just in my mind, is you can get really high highs and really low lows doing things in person, and doing online, kind of a tighter range has been my experience. Not as high, low, not as much commitment, not as much risk.
One of the things I really enjoy with being a DM online is I get to really know my players as a person before I ever sit down with them. Um, and I've sat down with several of my players when I've been on vacation. We've had awesome times because we've already built up that relationship before we ever meet face to face.
You're saying the people that you met online, you played together online, and then you played together again in person later on?
Yeah, yeah, we've had that happen a couple times. In fact, one of my regular players has invited me out to Seattle or to play with her and her husband when I'm on my next vacation. And it's just there's something about the ease of sitting behind the computer screen in your own home, kind of doing your thing and chatting with someone, getting to know them, that just makes it really convenient for a lot of people. And then when you meet that person in real life, it's like you've been friends forever.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree 100%. I have plenty of friends that I've known for many, many years online and that I've met up with a few times now, and it's awesome every time.
I can definitely see that side of it. And I've had it for like online RPGs, MMOs, and those kind of things where it's harder to get that in-person group together just for gaming, right? And so your relationship, because you only do it so often, it doesn't have the same level of growth and interaction that um, if I played World of Warcraft for 4 hours every night with people on voice chat, that's just pure more exposure with them and talking about eventually not just the game but other things in life and getting to know them that way, which is why I've had really great experiences with in-person groups when I did other things with those people outside of gaming. Like they were all teacher friends. That's how the gaming group I was in the last couple of years came together. Work friends, something besides this, such that gaming is one part of what we do together, one aspect of our relationship and interaction. I found that gaming was really great compared to the gaming of just we're here to game together and that's it. And then being able to develop that online is certainly easier to facilitate. So yet again, and ultimately it comes down to relationships with people make good games, not the system, not the numbers, how your level of interaction with them that relationship, shared experience, winning.
Something if I wouldn't mind asking if you're all okay with it. When it comes to online games, how do you keep up immersion when you're only playing by text? If there's no video or no voice, if it's just text in like a forum or chat through Roll20.
A lot of description. Try to use as much descriptive writing and imagery as you possibly can. That's really all I can say. And try to go with a lot of dialogue too, that could help.
Yeah, I wouldn't know from experience, but I guess that if you're gonna go for an all text approach, you'd have to go also for more like of a literary style. Like you'd have to make it look more and sound more like something you'd read in a book, in a like fantasy book, I think.
I know when I was younger, for years, text was the only way that I did role playing. Now that I've gotten older, it's too slow paced for me. I like having like the constant boom 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 interaction with people, and I think it's just because not only older, but my occupation the way it is, I live a lot faster now. So that's the main problem. But what helped me a lot when I was doing text based stuff was losing my train of thought. That helped a lot. I'll get back to you.
Fast paced, so fast, faster than his brain.
Yeah, but it really helps to when I was doing those text-based RPGs, I chose a style of writing for every character I had, so that whenever I was trying to write something for this specific character, I could tell from the type of writing that it was this and that character and not another one. Yeah, and with that comes a lot of description. It really helps to describe a lot and to choose what you describe and what you do not describe, what you leave open for others to interpret and to come up with on their own.
Oh, I think of course I'll quadruple onto the descriptive point. That is major importance. But speed at which you type. I recently actually tried because a group really wanted to do text-based. Tried it again, and there was a disparity between some people's capability of typing quickly. Bye. Thanks for not showing up. But yeah, so having everybody that has at least the same pace at which they type, so you don't have the people that are able to pound out, I don't know, like what's a high average, 30 lines per minute, I don't know, but having a close amount for what they can type and learning to build up your speed.
And I'm not sure if you're referring to play by post, which has been my experience with text-based, besides, way back in the day with text-based computer games kind of thing, turn left, pick up rock. Besides those, I've done play by post, and this is true for tabletop games too, but other style games. But the vested interest and the eagerness of certain people, I find that the experience is most enjoyed when there's a relatively similar level of eagerness. If you have people who are really good on, and they'll post once a week, but the whole group posts once a week, that's okay. If you have people who post 10 times a day or 100 times a day, and the whole group is posting 10, 100 times a day, great. But if you have one person, or half the group is posting once a week and checks it, and then that one player is, the DM somewhere in the middle, and the one player is 10, 15, 20 posts a day of, really long things, their enthusiasm can be great for them, but really diminish the experience of the other people who feel like they can't keep up, or, oh my God, this guy's way too into this, or way not into this, vice versa. To have that similar, so having that conversation, the pace and the flow of the game having like-mindedness will avoid the frustration of he doesn't post enough or he posts too much. That was my experience way back in high school. I would do play-by-post stuff, and in addition to the descriptive writing, I would use different colors and like italicized, and if one character would talk, it would be this color, or thinking would be this color, and little HTML stuff. I'm not sure if that is exactly what you're doing, but like all games, like-minded, trying to get the same thing out of it can help a lot.
Well, thank you, everyone. I was actually playing on Roll20, but through text, because the people I'm playing with, they just prefer text. They don't like using video or voice. But like one of you mentioned, it really drags. It takes ages. Last year we had what was supposed to be a one-shot, which was essentially a stay in a bed and breakfast which had a ghost in the attic, and there was only one combat in the entire thing, and it took 2 sessions to get done, and both sessions went on for about 6 hours because it just took so long through the text. I won't say I'm the fastest typer. I know I can be quite slow, but it's just the format through text makes it go really slowly, because I'm never sure entirely what to type. It's awkward, like there's the block in the conversation, like it takes too long just going through text instead of just speaking, where it'll flow off a lot smoother. So it's really hard sometimes. Any of you ever had that?
I can recognize the feeling a bit from all the RP forums where I used to be in RP a bit, and and I mean the problem with open forums, the problem back then with OpenRP forums was that you had a few people who posted a lot, and then you had like 10 people who posted occasionally, and you never got a proper string of things going, and with that. But I mean, like. Yeah, I can definitely recognize what you're talking about.
I'd probably
for that with the text base specifically in Roll20 chat, I had exactly that experience not but a month or so ago, and we got, I'd say, like 2.5 hours in, and we were still in the first conversation and had not met the characters had not met one another yet, and almost 3 hours in, I messaged them in a separate Skype chat, and I was like, is this a slow pace for anybody else, or is it just me? And they're like, and one of the responses was, I guess you don't roleplay much, do you? And I was like, oh, okay, I think we found what the problem is. I'm gonna be stepping out now because this is just too slow for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. That would be really just know thyself and know what works for you, and you don't have to pass judgment on them and their choices, but just say, yeah, I don't operate at that speed, or it's just not my pace, not my interest. I would probably, me personally, would not enjoy that very much. And so if you're finding you're just not enjoying it, I would say either ask them, hey, how about we try the voice chat? This is really slow to me, or guys, I just really don't get a lot of enjoyment about how slow this is, the pace. So
there's always room at somebody else's table.
Yeah, get the like-minded people. Don't if you're hating it and they're loving it, then you're depriving them to kind of force them into, or force yourself. You're no one benefits when they're just contradictory and different goals and that.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I'll talk to them about it, see if I can convince them to try out video and voice, and if not, maybe I'll try another text version and try and go as fast and smooth as possible. And if it just keeps on stalling, then I guess it won't work out.
Try voice only first.
Yes.
Baby steps.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Well, thank you very much for your help with that.
Of course. Well, I see lunch has been brought and has summoned me. I don't have to go right away. It's cold. But anything else on anyone's mind? We can kind of wrap up our chat here for today on any given topics.
Yeah, I actually was curious about your opinion down Virtuecast. I have a situation that a patron of mine is requesting me to come out with a particular PDF supplement, which I'm happy to do. But the way he described what he wanted was kind of a role-play table for all the different classes and races, and in this case he was referring to 5e. A, a, and I'm kind of interested to get people's feedback on something like that. What kind of situations would be beneficial to see how how people interact with NPCs, stuff like that.
So you mean like a table that barbarians could role play this way, and you role play
Yeah,
this
yeah, like a gnome barbarian in going to a king's castle in which there's a lavish party going on. How would they role play that situation and interact? Stuff along those lines.
That sounds like a massive undertaking to think of all the different race class combinations and then all the possible situations they could find themselves in.
Exactly. And I'm planning on limiting it and maybe bring it out in like book 1, book 2, etc. But I'm just kind of curious as if other people were to tackle something like that, what their approach would be, kind of what things they would be sure to include in it.
Well, I hope they're pledging a massive amount of money because that's going to take a bunch of time. But my approach has been what I've done instead of a document would be my video series on That's So Racist and So You Want to Play, and just talk about the class and different ways of playing the class, talk about the race and different ways of playing the race, and someone should be able to extrapolate from that a lot of solutions, a lot of ideas and situations that, all right, well, here's how gnomes act one of 3 ways, generally speaking, and barbarians act one of 3 ways, generally speaking. So, that ends up with 9 combinations as opposed to a trillion for just this specific class. You might, after so doing your own kind of view on the broad aspects, first, either a document or a video series. Yarn disabled DM's thoughts on gnomes. Bam. Then once those are all done, that if that's not enough still, then probably then go kind of specific like NPC showcases or character builds. That here's one example of one gnome barbarian, because a gnome barbarian can be played 100 different ways. There's no one way to play them in any given situation. That would be my approach if I was going to publish things. Sit down with the guy and have a chat about what he's wanting most specifically, like what character you wanting to develop now, what game are you playing this for? Let's talk about that, as opposed to if you do it, man, I would be very impressed. A chart for every race class combination in every possible gaming situation is.
I just ran the numbers. If you want to look at every race class combination, that's 108 of them.
That's just for like basic 5th edition, right? You're not talking about.
And that's not even calculating sub races. That's just the base races, and that's not calculating specializations of class. That's just all the classes and all the races.
Yeah. It's a huge undertaking to think of something like that. I really liked Andrew's idea of doing a video series on it. So I might see if that would be suitable for this particular patron.
I definitely think trying to do a bunch of them all at once is a losing battle, and that a video series would be really interesting, and you can kind of start and stop as ideas come to you. But I think a better way of tackling it might be, instead of trying to stereotype races or classes, because I always think that that's destructive rather than constructive, because people tend to pigeonhole themselves when you do that. I think a better move is actually what, if anybody else knows the channel, it's really nice. Bacon Battalion. He actually did one on the 9 types of characters, and these were really broad in a sense. There's the link right there. It's a really interesting watch, and it's got different concepts that you may not agree or disagree with, but it's interesting to see his point of view and also what goes through your head when he's saying that, and especially the people or characters that you've met in previous sessions.
Okay. Another way I was thinking about doing it is not so much by race and class, but by like personality types, and how a certain personality type would react to a standard situation.
That video is exactly that.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Thank you.
I've never heard of these guys, but I'll look now.
Fun
He's
fact.
South African over outside of Johannesburg. He's really awesome. He has a GM page as well, super fun to listen to. But that video is a 2-parter. Go ahead, Victor. I'm sorry.
Fun fact: if you were to do one for each race class combination and each alignment combination, that would be 972.
Yeah. And that's just for one particular situation. When you
That's
take
easy
into account the thousands of situations.
You can knock that out in an afternoon. I know you.
No, I may do 24-hour events, but I think even in 24 hours, that's a losing battle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, stop being so modest. You got it.
Come on, figure out what a lawful evil high elf barbarian would do in this situation.
Nah, bro. It's all about the chaotic evil halfling grappler.
Grappling.
Riding a dinosaur.
Yeah.
But I definitely appreciate the feedback, because I've been pondering whether or not to actually tackle that PDF, because it is such a huge undertaking.
Nope.
So I think the video is definitely the way to go with that.
I don't know how much detail it actually goes into, but it's entirely possible that this has already been done. Pathfinder has a few books called NPC codexes, which have basically just a book full of a massive, massive list of NPCs of all different classes, alignments, and races. So if you want to look for something similar to what you've got in mind, you could try looking through one of those.
Okay. Thanks, Silverman.
I can look at that right now. I actually have the book with me. Yep.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a lot of
every page is a new NPC that you could use, and along with that shows personality traits and like what kind of things they would do. It's also a great way to look at some names for NPCs.
Hey, I'll definitely have to check those out at some point then, because that's kind of the flavor he was asking me about. It sounds like Pathfinder really hit it on the head.
Yeah, it looks like there's over 200. Yeah, over 200 NPCs in this book. So.
Yeah, your probably better bet is to just schedule a once a week chat with this guy, and for 30 minutes we can talk about this character concept, and that would end up being less time, far less time than calculating, crunching all the different things. And like they're saying, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And if we want to, I'm very guilty of it. Share our own views on all these things, but sometimes someone's put in the work that's just good enough to point them in that direction. Alrighty. Well, I really enjoyed our chat today. I've got a notepad document open with about 8 different things to go and work on. Well, to put on my to-do list anyway. And I'm so glad you came out and we got a good conversation going.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yes, it was definitely awesome, especially for my first time being in a patron chat. I've been privileged to talk with Vergecast before, but and some of you others I know from other groups and hangouts, but it was definitely nice to have more of a sense of who the patrons were just by hanging out.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I wish you a fantastic evening, and I know we got a few European times here, so a good rest. And we'll talk again soon. I mean, there's going to be another chat tomorrow, a little later in the evening, for those who couldn't make this one.
Yeah, that might work a little bit better for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, this
Good
they're
5 minutes.
posted in the events page, but it is kind of a tighter window to for some people to fit this in, at least American time. So we'll definitely have one.
Yeah, I'm EST and I work until 4:30, so
Yeah, the next one is tomorrow at 5 Mountain, so 7 Eastern.
yep.
It should work out. All right. Adios. Happy gaming, all. We'll see you again
Happy
soon.
gaming.